In the news tonight, Vice President Osinbajo to meet World Technovation champions tomorrow. Motorists call for urgent rehabilitation of Enugu-Onitsha Express Road. Nigeria's Civil Aviation Authority assures Nigeria Air will begin operations in December. On the foreign scene tonight, Spain says she will halt sales of missiles to Saudi Arabia. And a very good evening to you and welcome to the news. I am Ebere Ugonna. The details of the news: Vice President Yemi Osinbajo will tomorrow, on behalf of the federal government, formally receive the 6 students of Regina Passes Model Secondary School Onitsha, who emerged world champions in the just concluded Technovation competition. Ebeleze found the report taken from here.
Who represented Nigeria and Africa in the competition defeated their contemporaries in 9 technologically advanced countries, including the USA, India, Turkey, China, Uzbekistan, Spain, among others, with a mobile application called FD Detector developed to tackle the challenge of fake pharmaceutical products. The Commissioner for Basic Education, Professor Kate Omenuwa, who disclosed this to the press in Oka, said the event will take place at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. While describing the 6 students gold medalists from Anambra State, Professor Omenuwa enjoined other students to be focused as the state is ready to bequeath them a globally competitive education.
The students that have done us proud in winning the Technovation pitching challenge in Silicon Valley, the Vice President is receiving them this Thursday in the villa in Abuja, and they'll be going there. They've become our role models, you know, just like the students that won the first Singapore Nigerian debate championship in Singapore in 2016. You know, I mean, these are children that have continuously done us proud.
It will be recalled that Governor Willie Obiano, during the 27th anniversary of the state, presented checks for 1 million naira each to the world champions. Also, at the ceremony, Governor Obiano announced scholarships for the students up to their first university degrees.
The State House of Assembly has passed a resolution urging Governor Willie Obiano to direct the Ministry of Works to urgently rehabilitate the Embassy portion of the old Onitsha-Newi Okija Road to forestall casualties. The resolution, which was sponsored as a matter of urgent public importance by the Minority Leader and member representing Ekusigo constituency, Mr. Onyebuchi Ofo, was passed during plenary. House of Assembly correspondent Chukwemeka Modeling was there and now reports.
According to Mr. Ofo, the condition of the road worsened as a result of a gully erosion that occurred at Ihembosi portion of the area. He emphasized that motorists, particularly those who drive at night, could fall into it if urgent steps are not taken to salvage the situation. On his part, the Deputy Majority Leader, Chief Pascal Abodike, appealed to the concerned ministry to rise to the occasion by rehabilitating the road to alleviate the sufferings of the road users, just as the Speaker, Barrister Rita Marago, lent credence to the motion and called for a voice vote. At plenary, a bill to establish the Fishery and Aquaculture Business Agency scaled second reading. The bill, which is sponsored by the executive arm of government, was introduced to the House by the Deputy Majority Leader, Chief Pascal Abodike, who explained that the bill, when passed, will go a long way in stimulating the production of fisheries and aquaculture in the state.
This agency, if established, will regulate the activities of fishery business and aquaculture in Anambra State, thereby making a way to secure the fishes in our rivers. Most time people inject dangerous chemicals into our rivers, thereby killing almost all the fishes in the river. And anybody who eats such fish, the person's health will be endangered.
On his part, the member representing Njikokatu constituency, Dr. Pete Ibida, noted that it will encourage a lot of people to go into fishery and aquaculture, thereby creating employment opportunities for the youth.
This will go a long way in stimulating, of course, the production of fisheries and the entire aquaculture family in our state. And of course, very importantly, it will energize our revenue. Mr. Speaker, let us, if we digress a little, we will understand that it's not just fisheries. Or perhaps when we say aquaculture, we think of only animals. It includes even plants that grow without water.
The Deputy Speaker, Sir Harford Oseke, and the other members of the House spoke in favor of the bill.
For a law to establish the fisheries and aquaculture business development agency and for other related matters. Those in support that this will be read for the second time, say aye. Aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it.
Similarly, a bill for a law to establish the Anambra State Information Communication Technology Agency scaled second reading. Another bill that scaled second reading is a bill for a law to establish the Awka Capital Territory Development Authority. From the State House of Assembly, Chukwuemeka Modelem, ABS News.
Motorists plying the Awka-Onitsha axis of the Enugu-Onitsha Expressway have bemoaned the inability of the federal government to fix the road despite countless promises. The people voiced out their anger and frustration over the deplorable condition of the road when ABS visited today. Kenneth Chukwuformer filed the report.
With very bad spots along the Umuobu, Ibariam and Umunya axis of the road, a journey from Awka to Onitsha using the route, which according to the commuters, initially takes about 40 minutes, now takes about 2 hours to complete. During the visit, pockets of gully were also observed developing at some spots, while one lane along some axes of the dual carriageway cannot be accessed by motorists due to very dangerous potholes. What looked like palliative work along some axes of the expressway have been completely abandoned as there was no contractor nor functional working equipment on site. A truck driver who had slept for 2 days on the road because of his vehicle that broke down, Mr. Anthony Odenibo, and a commercial bus driver, Mr. James Abusi, regretted the huge amount of money they spend on vehicle repairs due to the very bad road, noting that due to its very strategic nature and the heavy traffic it witnesses, the road cannot be allowed to remain the way it is. They noted that it is rather appalling that the federal government is paying lip service to the project, given that at various times, many of its top officials have made promises that the road has been awarded and will be completed soon.
Uzo akachasi njọ from Umuokpo ebe now wee rube Umunya. Inwe ike ịnọ na ife ruru abani one ma one ma ga agafechenwu. Anyị nwa na-ebu mmanya iruo mmanya kụwasịrị n'isi driver ka a na-edenye.
Every time Anambra was up, Alumuta. Every week about was every week. Papa Makuzo. I na ayobo edozie land user. Alwa person had to go bad too much.
A private car driver, Chief Romanus Amama, and some other road users, Mr. Okechukwu Elobi and Engineer Marcus Ho, while describing the road as it is now as a death trap, called on the federal government to immediately come to their aid by reconstructing the road, adding that if left unaddressed, it will in no distant time collapse entirely.
The federal government road I'm on Abuja nwe mana ọka mana governor tiriego na deziera ya ka iwere nation chana joka also so na batakwa amana mgbete ha ka na oyibo ji akwụ ụgwọ ya.
For some workers at some filling stations along the road who spoke on the condition of anonymity, government should come to their aid as the deplorable condition of the road threatens their jobs. Speaking on the development, the Commissioner for Works, Chief Marcel Ifejofo, revealed that the road is motorable a bit because the state government had approved palliative work on it twice annually during the rainy season and Christmas period, adding that a state contractor has been directed to immediately intervene on the very bad Umuobu axis and other bad spots. He noted that Governor Willie Obiano, in keeping with his road infrastructural development agenda, has directed him to liaise with the Federal Ministry of Works to fast-track the execution of the project and other federal government's projects across the state, assuring that his ministry is committed to delivering on the task.
His Excellency has directed that we do some palliatives, especially around Timbershed to Anambra Junction, which is very, very bad. If you see there now, you see it's been directed to go to sites, at least to make the road passable and to reduce the suffering of the people of Anambra. Because in as much as it's a federal road, but because our governor is an amiable one that loves the Anambra and doesn't want to see Anambra people amongst the suffering, he has directed that we do some palliative at least while awaiting the commencements of the contract according to federal government, that people of Anambra and other road users won't suffer.
With all these cries of agony and suffering coming from commuters along this very important road, it has now become imperative for the federal government to do the needful and come to the aid of these commuters by immediately constructing this road to save them from untold hardship. From the Umunya axis of the Enugu-Onitsha Expressway, I am Kene Chukwuofoma reporting for ABS News.
The State Commissioner of Police, Mr. Garba Omar, says the command will continue to work with the traditional institution in the state to promote and orderliness. Mr. Omar was speaking when he led some security chiefs on a courtesy call on the traditional ruler of Oka, Obi Gibson. Also, correspondent Ken Chukwudi and Dennis Akwaleza were there for the ABS, and their report is presented by Ken Chukwudi.
Commissioner Umar was received at the palace by members of the Igwe cabinet and other titled men, led by the Prime Minister of Oka, Chief Benjamin Okoye. Police Commissioner Umar noted that he has worked closely with the traditional ruler, adding that the synergy has brought stronger resolve in crime fighting. He used the opportunity to warn those who go contrary to the law by parading themselves as traditional rulers by whatever guise, as the laws are clear on selection and certification of traditional rulers. CP Umar further warned the IPOB members against obstructing members of the public from going about their lawful businesses under any form of sit-at-home order, as the command is mobilized against those who want to disturb public peace.
We have one king, and we know who is the king. And you have seen me visiting the king. And you have heard what I said about the king. If you have another king, you are on your own. You are not from Oka. You are not from here. Which means you know where you are people. You only know one. Recognized by law, not by Commissioner of Police, by law.
Obi Gibson Nwosu, while receiving the delegation, commended the command for her doggedness in fighting crime in the state, especially nipping kidnapping in the bud, as well as the command's ability to decisively tackle issues of cultism, thereby making the state the safest in the country. He reiterated the support of the traditional institution in fighting crime and criminality in the state, especially in Oka, capital city.
My kingdom will continue to show reverence to your authority. You represent the government. You are the last bus stop in maintenance of law and order in this community.
Also speaking, the traditional Prime Minister, Chief Okoye, thanked the Commissioner for his visit and good works, adding that the community is always ready to collaborate with security agencies. Among his entourage was the Deputy Commissioner of Police Operations, Mr. Mike Okoli, State Commander Anti-Court, Mr. Basi Ukon, Mobile Police Commander for Oka, Mr. John Paul, and his counterpart in Onitsha, Lawal Tuko, amongst others. From the palace of the Ezuzu of Oka, it's been Kenechukwu Chukwudi for ABS News.
The United Nations General Assembly has since 2012 designated the 5th of September each year as the International Day of Charity in recognition of the significant role that charities and individuals have undertaken to alleviate human suffering and humanitarian crises. The day is also celebrated every year as the anniversary of the death of Mother Teresa of Calcutta, one of the world's most popular philanthropists who died in 1997 after a lifetime of charitable work with the sick. Correspondent Emmanuel Okonkwo has a report on the day.
Poverty persists in all countries, regardless of their economic, social, and cultural situation, particularly in developing countries. Hence the need for charity works to improve the living standard of the less fortunate in the country. Speaking on the essence of the celebration, the Commissioner for Youth Empowerment and Creative Economy, Mr. Bonaventure Anambra, described charity as a very crucial phenomenon in human life and should be embraced by everyone. Mr. Anambra could disclose that the State Ministry of Youth Empowerment of the State Youth Empowerment and Creative Economy will celebrate the day on the 29th of this month, during which some philanthropists who have distinguished themselves in community services in the state will be recognized, charged youths to always strive to contribute their quota in the development of their various communities.
Once you're living in this life, it's expected that you should do charity. Morally, it enhances our spiritual life, and physically also, you see the impact of what you're doing to people. What charity is very important, and people should actually embrace it, and I encourage more people to do more charity to people around them.
On his part, the Vicar of St. John's Anglican Church, Okpuno, in Awka South local government area, Reverend Canon Onyeka Egwonwu, described charity as one of the major attributes of God, demonstrated when he offered his Son Jesus Christ on the cross of Calvary for the redemption of mankind, saying that it is through charity that one could prove himself as a true child of God, and called on all to imbibe the virtue of helping the needy in order to reap the blessings therein.
Bụrụ onye anyị na-emeri ka imeri ya Chukwu etekiwo rekọd ya n'eluigwe mbọsị ọkwụkwọ ụgwọ ya na-abịa ọtụtụ ndị gba aka taa maka na o nwere ibe na-eme ba na-achọ ka a na-enyeba onye ọ na-achọ ka a na-enye ya enye gara ịdị na-enye onye a nwekwa problem kwa nnukwu nsogbu ka onye a na-eti onwe a na-enye ị na-enye nwere ụzọ ihe esi na-enyere onye ọzọ aka.
For the resident pastor, New Life Winners Church, Ifitoka, Pastor Chima Ikwakamma, charity is a divine mandate that must be adhered to for a better society.
In the Bible, you said, love your enemy, love one another, care for one another, give what you have to the poor, give what you have to the needs, so that the country that we are need today, we keep on moving as one brethren, because today, as a brethren, we need to care, we need to love.
Also speaking, another pastor at the church, Pastor Timothy, who then called on political leaders in the country to always show equal love and care for their subjects, irrespective of religious and tribal background, for an improved peaceful coexistence in the country. In Awka, I am Emmanuel Okonkwo, reporting for ABS News.
Moving on, the Director General, Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, Captain Muta Usman, has said the proposed national carrier Nigeria Air will begin operations by December this year, as proposed by the federal government. Usman told journalists yesterday in Abuja that since the NCAA could deliver on the two major certificates, the air transport license and the aircraft operator certificate, within the 90 days stipulated by the law, the airline was still on track for the December takeoff. Usman stated that criticism about the proposed national carrier project had also reduced, as most Nigerians were beginning to understand and buy into the idea. The Director General said the project was still ongoing, adding that the government and other relevant stakeholders were working round the clock to ensure a successful takeoff. He stated that the Nigerian Air project arrangements will continue until it is delivered to the Nigerian people. Even though people are now quiet about it, it does not mean that the project has stopped at all. He said it is an ongoing process, and it is transparent, as people can see, is to get the best for Nigeria. And moving on to the foreign scene, Spain has announced that she will halt the sale of hundreds of missiles to Saudi Arabia amid concerns about their use against civilians in the war in Yemen. The Defense Ministry has launched a process to cancel the contract between Spain and Saudi Arabia signed in 2015 for 400 laser-guided munitions, and will pay back the $10 million already paid for the weapons. The ministry said last month it had never sold arms that could be used against the civilian population and condemned the killing of non-combatants in Yemen. The Saudi embassy in Madrid did not immediately respond to emailed questions and follow-up calls by the Associated Press. Human rights groups have denounced Western arms sales to Saudi Arabia and its allies in a war. The United Nations says has killed more than 10,000 people and left 8.4 million on the brink of famine. Spain is the fourth largest provider of military equipment and weapons to the Gulf states, according to Amnesty International. The Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, an independent global security database, said the United States, Britain, and France are Saudi Arabia's main arms suppliers. Last year, Saudi Arabia reportedly agreed to buy $7 billion worth of precision-guided munitions from the United States. Andrew Smith, a spokesman from the UK-based Campaign Against Arms Trade, said Spain's decision has put a lot of pressure on the Saudi-led coalition. Still on the foreign scene, massive declines in the agricultural, transport and retail sectors have dragged the South African economy into recession after nearly a decade of growth. It is a huge blow to President Ramaphosa's controversial reforms. GDP in the second quarter contracted by 0.7% compared to the first 3 months of the current year. South African national currency, the rand, extended declines against the US dollar to more than 2% as government bonds fell after the released data. Statistician General Risenga Maluleke confirmed the report while commenting on the reports that reflect 2 consecutive quarters of contraction. According to statistics, South Africa agricultural production declined by 29.2%, while the transport, communication and storage sector dropped 4.9%. At the same time, mining output grew by 4.9% and finance by 1.9%. The news is expected to increase concerns over the weakening rand, along with plans for a widely debated land reform and negative after effects triggered by state corruption under former President Jacob Zuma. South African national currency plummeted under the pressure of emerging market jitters in Turkey and Argentina. It is expected to get worse amid investors' deep concerns about a government push for land reform that may have far-reaching economic consequences. And now sports. The Nigerian Football Federation NFF Committee on Ethics and Fair Play has banned Super Eagles chief coach Salisu Yusuf from all football-related activities for 1 year with immediate effect. The four-man committee's decision was announced in a statement by NFF Director of Communications Ademola Olajire and made available to the newsmen today in Abuja. Members of the committee were Malam Nuhu Ribado, Chairman, Minor Sarah Ilo, Reverend Justice Okoroji, and Mr. Joshua Onoja, Secretary. He also said that the coach had been directed to pay $5,000 as a fine to NFF within 3 months. According to him, this decision was sequel to a complaint forwarded by the NFF as well as coach's defense against a documentary in which he was seen accepting $1,000 from an undercover reporter disguising as a player's agent. Olajire said that the Ribado-led committee made the following submissions, unquote, established from the admission of Coach Yusuf and also found as a fact from the documentary and video evidence before it that he accepted the cash gift of $1,000 offered by Tigers Players Agency. An undercover reporter purportedly interested in acting on behalf of players Osaz Okoro and Rabiu Ali for their inclusion in the list of players for 2018 CHAN competition in Morocco. The committee found as a fact that it was not an error of judgment on the part of Coach Yusuf, but a conscious and deliberate decisions to have accepted a cash gift of $1,000 from the decoy player agent and undercover reporter purportedly interested in acting on behalf of players Osaz Okoro and Rabiu Ali. Even though the evidence before the committee did not establish that his conduct influenced the choice of the 2 players, end of quote. That the 2 players could have made the team to 2018 CHAN competition in Morocco on the basis of their talent and performance. That Coach Yusuf did not accept the offer of 15% of the anticipated transfer fees of the said players, as there was no follow-up action on the promise. He noted that the Ethics Committee also wrote that an appeal against the decision can be made to the NFF Appeals Committee. The NFF spokesman quoted the committee as saying that it passed its verdict on the defendant based on Article 2021 subsection 1 and 21 subsection 3 of the NFF Code of Ethics. He explained that it also made reference to Article 10 and 11 of the FIFA Code of Ethics in arriving at its verdict. And that's it on ABS Television News tonight. But remember that you can listen to news and programs on ABS from any part of the world by logging onto our website, www.absradiotv.com. Like us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/ABS Radio Television, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ABS Radio TV. And just before we go tonight, the main points again: Vice President Osibanjo to meet World Technovation champions tomorrow. Commissioner for Basic Education, Professor Amenua, made the revelation in an exclusive interview with the ABS. Motorists have been called for urgent rehabilitation of Enugu-Onitsha Express Rail. Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority assures Nigeria Air will begin operations in December. On the foreign scene, Spain has said she will halt sales of missiles to Saudi Arabia. And that's the size of our package tonight. Many thanks for watching. I'm Ebere Ugunna.